E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. Live streaming now to millions of devices around the world on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook live streaming. Our shows are available video on demand on these channels. And we broadcast daily, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on these channels. On Mondays, Expanding Your Business. Tuesdays, Natural Health and Wellness. On Wednesdays, we cover mentoring our youth. And on Thursdays, our new show, Ideas Worth Knowing. And on Fridays, Women in Leadership. To be able to watch our television show on your favorite device, please go to e360tv.com and download the app for your favorite device. Brought to you by our producers and hosts, Jimgrant and donnaguinouard. Along with our host, Beata Severin Reed and Emersonbrantley. Supported by our admin team of Michaela Vidal and Gaia Guinois Balconi Weda. And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by our sponsors, the 6minutewebinar.com, as well as ideasworthknowing.com. You folks that follow the show hear me talk a lot about the 6-minute webinar. It truly is a wonderful, wonderful tool for you to use in your business. And regardless of what you want to do, if you want to give a presentation on something, whatever it might be, the 6-minute webinar enables you to zero in directly on your ideal client. Because your ideal client that's listening to you, they want to know one thing, and that is, can you help them in their hour of need? It's that plain, that simple, and that sweet. Now, Ideas Worth Knowing, you might have saw that. That's our Thursday show. Emersonbrantley and C. Mike Lewis, they're the two that had that show up. And Emerson came to me and, wanted to talk about him and Mike wanted to do this joint venture together. And I forgot to put up the websites there as I'm talking about these wonderful places. That's a 6-minute webinar there. But Mike he's a very successful publisher. He has over 1,000 best-selling authors. So he contacted the authors and says, hey, I want to set up a series of books on certain topics, kind of like a chicken soup series. And I want to be able to provide people with a great inventory to fit their needs. Starting out, most of them is aimed at business, but it's going to be expanding from that, kind of like an accordion, just going to stretch it on out there. And the beautiful thing about it is anyone, anywhere can go there, sign up for their library card, and receive 10 complimentary books. And when we say complimentary books, we mean 10 complimentary books. I mean, there's no follow-up. There's no, try to sell you something else. And just go to this website here to receive your complimentary 10 books you see there on the marquee. To get your library card, ideasworthknowing.com. Just sign up there and they'll send it to you. And I know that Mike is updating the website. So if at first you don't succeed, try again. Anyway, today I have a very good friend of mine that I've known for many years going to be joining us today. And I'm familiar with a little bit of her journey. And Kim is a lady that really she's been there, she's done it, she's got skin in the game. To say she's a survivor I don't know if that's accurate. What I'm saying is that she's a leader. She became extremely proactive, and I'm going to invite her to the stage here to join us here on the show. And ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Kimberly to the show here. Here she is.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, fine. And you adjust your camera a little bit. It looks like you're making me look tall.
There we go.
There we go. Oh, yeah. And just, yeah, there we go. That's perfect. Yeah, I was just talking a little bit about you. You know, we've known each other for many years. Oh, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. I don't know. But I'm a little bit familiar with, your lifestyle and all. And like I said, uh, being a survivor is one thing. I didn't think that's a good way of describing you, but you are a leader to say, hey, we can get out of this mess. We can pick up the pieces and go on because you have done exactly that, haven't you?
Well, one, thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate it. But the way that I look at it is that I have been on a very, very long journey
Hmm.
that I would hope nobody else has to be as long as mine was.
Hmm.
But one of the things that was so beneficial is that I was able to start to see really, who I was as a person. That when I looked in the mirror, I actually liked the person I saw on the other side. And when I, excuse me, when I came, to those realizations, for me, uh, I looked at it as that, if I have felt this way, then like how many other people are in that same boat?
Hmm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, like, I know what it's felt like, and I know what the experiences have created in not fun experiences. And
Hmm.
so it just was really important to me to want to make sure that, others did not have that same journey. It's
Hmm.
so important that, at that step where, I think that there is a falsity at thinking that, that the journey's done if the victim leaves the abuser.
Hmm.
But actually, it's really just beginning because
Hmm.
there is so much that is in your head that when you are actually on your own, then what it is that you are fighting against are the same things that you start to doubt yourself that you can't actually move forward in your life. And,
Hmm.
so because you're feeling that way, you tend to not ask for help or go for help or, let people know that you're suffering.
Hmm.
And that's why there is such a high percentage uh, of victims that wind up returning to the relationship.
Hmm.
My first marriage, it took 3 times of filing divorce and 10 years for it to actually be a done deal. So I'm certainly understand, and there is no such thing as needing to blame the victim for returning, because it's a very common thing when people say, well, they went back, so they knew what they were going in for, so they must enjoy it. Well, that's
Yeah.
a completely wrong
Hmm.
thought process for people to be having.
Oh, yeah. That's a very ignorant and narrow-minded view of it because there's a lot of different things going on because every situation is different. What I really admire about you, Kim, is the fact that you know you had to deal with what you had to deal with there, but then that kind of inspired you in a way to say, "Hey, I can help others. I can be their voice when people don't know what to say or where to turn to." And your journey has led you down a very impressive path. Would you share, some of the places where you've been and you've actually testified in front of, and share that if you would, please.
Oh yeah, that has been such a fun experience. I have spent quite a few years now going and testifying in front of the state house and senate, and I have been part of a public policy committee where we actually look at like some of the bills that are going to be up for the session, and
Mhm.
whether we feel that it's in the best interest or maybe it's not in the best interest. And so your thought process of why it is that you're testifying can change. And I actually have several that are very important to me because it really was spot on with so many things that I have experienced personally, that it was very, very important to me to want to be able to get up there and tell them my story, because change can only happen when somebody can connect with an emotion. If somebody's never been through that, they don't understand how to connect with that emotion. And so then the words on the paper, they don't get up and start playing, because they're just flat and dead, because there's nothing that is connecting them to the emotion of what happens in that realm of experience. So, it was interesting because one in particular, it was for harassment and stalking on social media. And I wasn't told until afterwards that they felt that the Democrats were going to veto that bill. Why, I'm not positive, but for whatever they were thinking, they felt like maybe it needed something more or change, whatever the deal was. And when I got up and I shared my story of my experiences, of things that had happened and stuff, it passed 10-0. So that was a huge, huge accomplishment of something that was pretty much, they felt like, on the books, because at the time, there was more Democrats in that committee than there were Republicans. So, the opportunity for it to wind up being vetoed was much greater. So, there's bliss in going in blind. So there was no pressure on me. It was just going in and, sharing my experience and why I felt it was so important. And then it went into the Senate, and I testified in the Senate. And what was the most amazing experience is that the chairman, because you normally only get like 3 minutes. So it's like, how fast can you talk and get everything you need to get in within like 3 minutes? And when I got done, because they kind of let you know when it's getting close to the end. So I like even sped up even like faster, like I can't leave anything out. And so when they said, I was done, the chairman said, I think there was like some other things that she wanted to add. And he gave me 5 more minutes to talk.
Wow.
That like is undocumented. I actually had a couple of people that were from the committee that were watching, and they're like, we have never, ever seen that happen before. So that was really exciting to, have that experience. And, it was touching that when they went to go take the vote, they would ask the chairman if they could speak. And every single one of them said, it is our job as a senator in our district to make sure this never happens to you again. So it was such an amazing experience to see that transfer, because as soon as it passed there, which was 8-0, it goes directly to the governor's office and gets signed into a bill. So, that is something that I will always cherish.
Yeah. There's one thing I wanted to ask you. When you were in there testifying, how you can kind of pick up on things, how if people are sitting there and they're looking at you like this, what was their body language like, number one? And number two, after hearing you speak, of course, I know you only have 3 minutes and you were just presenting your case, but did they ever ask you any, kind of like intelligent questions that kind of like, wow, these people are really, did they do any questions there afterwards or not?
Sometimes they will. That is common. While I was, waiting for my turn, I did see other things that were up, that questions, were asked. But I think that when you have testimony that, how do you debate somebody's experience of real life things that happened that were extremely traumatizing, that were potentially, dangerous for them, and that somebody was at the point where they were, had every blind closed in the house, and they worked out of their bed because they were afraid to go anywhere in the house. So
Wow.
it's a little difficult to, ask a question or try to challenge it, because
Yeah.
that that would be like kind of like, hurting somebody again when they're already down on their luck. So,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
it just wasn't
Yeah,
probably
I
like
wouldn't.
in their best
I didn't
interest.
think of. I didn't. I wasn't going. I didn't mean to support to sound like asking you personal questions, but like, where do you visualize this? This legislating going, and how do we, expand this, or any questions like that along that area?
It's so important to. Here's a little secret that I learned is that, when committees I know, listen.
Yeah.
So when committees have, because here in Arizona, the legislators, they do not work all year. It's only January through the end of May that they're actually in committee and making the decisions. So you have a very short window of time. And so they are, obviously, they have a huge agenda that they have to get through, and they want to get through it as quickly as possible to get it off the docket. So the little secret is that they really like it when people don't show up to testify, because it makes it easy to, like, boom, let's take a vote. Who says yay? Who says nay? And, then the yay or the nays win, and then they move on to the next thing. There's no discussion about it with any of them, unless one of them have brought the bill to the table. Well, that's a different story, because now they have a special, interest in mind for that particular, bill to pass or to not pass. So, but anytime that, people don't show up, then, something that you feel is very important may not necessarily pass, or something that you feel like shouldn't pass does pass. So, the more we get involved at the state level, it actually then will start having a huge influence of what happens in Washington, because there's then tends to be a lot of pressure of, so many bills that are passing a certain way that is now pressuring it to be more of a, federal law that, should look at being drafted and, passed. So that's my little, like, 2 cent secret for today.
Oh, okay, good deal. You might have saw me drop out of there, and that's through no fault of my own, ladies and gentlemen. I got to congratulate AT&T. They got one of the sorriest systems I've ever seen. And I mean that wholeheartedly, because we live out here in the country, and my studio's in my home, and we're on the old 4 copper wire system, the old Ma Bell system.
Oh my
with
gosh.
the rotary. And then that's what I'm on right now. And then I buy the hotspot that's supposed to work, and it used to work good. And I was on my, show, and my hotspot went down. I'm going like, it still shows blue, but the only thing it made blue was me. Anyway, I apologize for that, but I just got to give a hand to AT&T. They've been promising me for about the last 10 years they're going to get fiber optics out here, and I wrote their corporate office and told them I was going to, just share with the folks out there in TV land what a wonderful company AT&T was, and they don't even have to pay me for that, They just, But one thing I wanted to say, Kim, this really sets the precedence, what you did, for it to domino in other states and get more of a, because now the foundation where you're at, it's been laid, and that has a tendency to branch out, because other lawmakers in other states would say, hey, especially if it's brought to their attention.
Well, I'm actually glad that you thought of bringing that up, because actually it was very monumental decision that was made in the Supreme Court just a couple days ago. I don't know if you heard about it, but they actually passed a law on stalking that it is up to the victim to prove that the person that is actually stalking them. And due to the fact that I fought so hard to, make sure that what past hair did, I am extremely frustrated by that decision, because that opens a whole can of worms of, putting everything back on the victim. And then kind of like when you have it that aloof, by saying that, then, the question is then, where is that standard then? Like, where is like that mark in the sand where somebody says, okay, yes, you finally, like, you went over the line, like, we now have the amount of proof that we need, like that. And then that can change, from person to person to person, from court to court to court. It really sends such a horrible message. And then, when you finally get to the point where, you feel like you have law enforcement's ear now with this now, passing, where it's back on the victim, all of a sudden we may not have the same amount of, support that we were once getting. So that is
that's a bad decision.
Huge is one of the biggest mistakes that the Supreme Court has made, in something that Congress and so many of the representatives have, on this last election, sold their way to being elected on saying that they were going to be, very adamant in advocating for domestic violence. Well, this decision, it almost makes all of them sound like liars, because, why would they, not go and advocate for that bill to, not pass?
Yeah, because I remember back some years ago, there was a Hollywood star. I can't remember her name. She is stalked, and unfortunately, she lost her life to this knucklehead. And they passed a law because she was a celebrity. She was in a different category. And I thought, well, that's not right, because just because she's a celebrity, she's no better than anybody else.
Yeah.
She really isn't. I mean, my daughter was in a very rough situation there, and very abusive. And I'll be honest, I mean, I don't think she'd mind me saying this, because one day I'm sitting in my office, this is back when I still ran my manufacturing business, and she came in and she was in tears, and she said they had split up then and had not gotten divorced yet. But she said he's going to come up here, and he was on his way. He was going to shoot her. And I knew he was down at his mama's house, because that's where all dogs run. When they get in trouble, they run home to mama. And so I called down there, and she says, oh, he's not here. And I said, you put him on the phone, or I'm getting in my truck and I'm coming down there. And I promise you, I won't be nice when I get there. I'm not going to even knock on the door. I'm going to kick it open. So she got him on the phone. And I'm not going to go into graphic detail what I said, but I told him, I says, I dare you to come up here. I says, I promise you there'll be a death. I'm going to arrange it myself, And that was pretty much the end of that. He was one of these people, ladies and gentlemen, you have to hit him, to let him know that there's no tolerance here.
Yeah.
There's no slack in the chain for you. You come here to my property, you're going to harm my daughter. You're going down.
Right.
Because I've got one daughter already in the grave through no fault of anything except her health issues. And if he thinks that I raised my daughter to be his punching bag and to be threatened and abused, that boy, if he's got half a brain, he better start using it. Otherwise, he might have been guilty of taking stupid pills before he left the house in the night.
I think there's a lot of them out there that have taken a whole bunch of them.
Because, good gracious, I don't have any tolerance at all for people that want to abuse others, male or female, because women can do it to men just as, just as easily. But the point of it is, There's people out there like Kim. There's organizations out there. If you're in an abusive situation, find help. There's people out there. And I mean, Kim, you do a great job of that. I mean, you counsel people and you're it says there, a certified domestic counselor. Is that correct?
I am I have my certification as a domestic and sexual violence victims consultant and advocate and public policy advocate. So, yeah, and the thing is that I have taken it upon myself to wanting to make sure that I understood that, what all the laws were, where all the, how the courts were sitting, what all the resources that are out there, and to make sure that I invested in myself before I invested in others. And so I have attained 35 different types of certifications that have to do with being an advocate, a consultant, victims' rights, dealing with those who have been through sexual abuse. So it's really, really important that you take the time and put in. And I'm actually, also making the investment, in a master's degree in criminal justice, so that those that I work with understand that they have somebody that is there for them. They're not in this by themselves anymore, and they have somebody that understands the things that need to be done.
Yeah, because I know one thing concerns mothers, especially if they got kids. They stay in a bad relationship to have food and shelter and things like this for their kids, but that's a prison. That is a living hell, and the kids see that. But I mean, that's because, and I could be wrong. Okay, but please correct me if I'm wrong. I promise I won't get mad. If I do, I'll cry. But they probably feel like they don't have anyone that they could turn to. I mean, I ain't talking about maybe they don't have a family member or something like that, but other resources like, women's shelters or anything like that. And they really don't know how to access that.
Yeah, there actually is a fantastic program out there, and it's called ACES, ACES. There, a lot of hospitals have it, a lot of pediatrician offices have it, and it's specifically for kids that have experienced or are experiencing some type of abuse, and it actually puts them through the whole program of working through trauma. And they have different levels of activities based on the evaluation that's done. And there is a system, it's 1 through 10. And the lower that your number is, that means that the more trauma you have been through. So then they know how to build the program in for that particular child and learn how to work with them. So there is programs out there, but the abuse that happens for children, 1 in 5 children go through some type of domestic or sexual abuse, and every day 5 children die of abuse. So if you add that up, that's over 2,000 children a year that are passing away from some type of abuse.
That's horrible. I just went and looked up this website and ACEs, and I'm going to put it here. Let's see. I forgot to adjust that. Let me make an adjustment here on it.
Yeah, and I have that information on my website also.
Is that the correct web address there? ACES.org?
Yes. Yep,
Good,
absolutely.
good.
Yep, that's a great resource. They're located all over the country. It was started by 2 doctors from the opposite ends of the country, and they have built this fantastic program. I'm actually on a ACES action committee of how to change the thought process and confidence in
Mhm.
kids from 0 to 18 and bring the program into the school. So, it's something that is very much, on,
Mhm.
all of our minds of like, what can we do to start making changes that changes the
Mhm.
trajectory of, how children are, because it's important that we get them the help that they need, because the percentage of children who wind up in the same type of domestic relationship,
Mhm.
or if they were sexually assaulted,
Mm.
there is a great number of them that will wind up doing the exact same thing as they grow up,
Mm.
because it's never been addressed as they
Mm.
were children.
Yeah, ACES stands for Advocacy, Commitment, Excellence, and Service. And I'm looking at what they have here. It's really amazing. And one thing too about when you reach out to an organization like this, and they're connected with other people, they know other resources, and they're so eager to help
Mm-hmm.
and share. And the main thing for a person, because someone out there in TV land might know of someone that feels like they're living in a hopeless situation, and it could be a very dangerous situation too. I'm talking about life threatening. And if they could just break the mold, just take that choke chain off
Yeah.
and get out and go to one place. I'll guarantee you. Now I don't know anything about this. I'm just going on my gut feeling here, but I'll guarantee you, after sitting down and talking with someone at one of these places where you can get help, they're going to have some degree of hope.
Yeah.
And that's what makes life worth living. Because if you don't have hope in this life, I mean, my goodness gracious, life's not worth the living. It
No,
really
it
isn't.
all, also, Jim, too, is that most states will actually have a nonprofit that is specifically targeted
Mhm.
towards those that are under 21,
Mhm.
that has special programs that really, deal with, rebuilding them as a person, and,
Mhm.
activities and things like that. And really are straight on. And I know that here in the Arizona area, in the Phoenix area, I'm actually friends with a woman who started, it's called Bloom 365. And
Hmm.
they're a fantastic organization
Hmm.
for children.
That's wonderful, because there's so many ways to give back. And for someone sitting out there in TV land that might be thinking, well, I'm not in an abusive situation, but what can I do? You could get involved
Right.
and asked how you could, in a, whether it's maybe not with money, but how could you logistically support the operation to be able to help, people who come in that need help, that may be in a very life threatening situation. And you could say, hey, whatever they might need there. You could be a good worker bee, to put it in country English. And I encourage you. I mean, really, to be productive. I mean, it's sure, because think about the satisfaction you would have knowing that you're able to be a blessing to someone, either directly or indirectly. Oh my goodness! I
Yeah.
mean, every time you bless someone, you always feel good, don't you?
Well, Jim, and I've heard you say this before, probably 1,000 times, if not more, is that, when you give to others, it always comes back tenfold.
Oh yeah.
The whole philosophy is that, and a lot of, actually a lot of people in networking or in business don't understand, is that the more that you give and help others get themselves
Mm.
up and going, you will be more successful than you thought you could ever be.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen that. I've experienced that. Had the privilege of experiencing that in my life, and it just. I remember one time. I don't like to say I was broke. I just like to say I was financially embarrassed at the time. But anyway, there was a person that needed something, and I just pulled out my credit card and did it. And I thought, well, I may have to mow grass to pay for that thing. So, but what happened was that things turned for me, and something I had been working on that I thought was dead came back to life, and they called me. And
Wow.
I ended up making more money on that deal than I was initially. Because they said, oh, by the way, can we do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I may have to get up early and work late and work on weekends. That ain't no
Yeah,
problem.
no. You
Ain't
know,
no problem for me. But that's an example of how
yeah.
when you know that you know that you know that's the right thing to do.
That
Don't
was such
ever,
the perfect, yeah.
don't ever let time or money be your reason for you not doing it. You are cheating yourself, you're robbing yourself, and you'll never be happy living a life like that.
No, your body functions better, your soul functions better
Mhm.
when you have uh, given in some way. And it doesn't have to be materialistic.
Mm-mm.
It can just be a comment. It could be, a quick phone call, a quick text. Like, there's so many different ways that we can change how,
Mhm.
someone's life is. And, I know for myself that I've been very, very busy the last several months. And so one of the things that I have made a point of doing is that, those that are very close to me, I'll take like 2 minutes in the morning and I'll send them a little emoji that looks like me so that they don't forget what I look like, and and just say, I hope you have a great day.
Yeah.
I think the world of you. And, uh, people, feel like they're being thought about.
Mhm.
They feel like they have worth to somebody else.
Oh yeah.
And just like think of, how does that change your step that you have in the
Yeah.
day?
Yeah. Just to give you an example of what I was talking about, I hadn't talked to Kim, I guess, in maybe 8 months, a year. I don't really remember because we get so busy, and you get all these 3,000 people, friends on Facebook, and you look at that going, I don't remember them, and you've never said happy birthday or nothing, neither to each other or nothing, and you don't even know who tried to friend who, or what the deal was. But anyway, I sent Kim, I think I sent you a message, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And just wanted to say hello to her and all that. And then we had a nice conversation. And then this is what I'm saying. Always follow your gut, because I'm living proof. If you follow your gut, you're going to be okay. If you follow your head, you're going to be in trouble. So forget that one. That's a priceless gift right there. But anyway, I got on the phone with a friend of mine, and we talked about some personal things there, And anyway, it just dominoed from there. And then she was on the show last Tuesday with the health and wellness. And in the spur of the moment, we actually did this live on that, right? Just like we are now, we decided we're going to do a series of shows on Friday about what the work that she's doing. And she's going to be inviting other subject matter experts and maybe people that she has counseled in on this show for Friday for the next several weeks. So you want to be sure and make a note of that and share that with others. But it just goes to show you how, I just saw her picture and I thought, well, I hadn't said hello to Kim in a long time. We used to talk, frequently anyway. And mainly I'd talk and she'd laugh. That's basically what it was. But
You have
anyway,
to stop being so funny. I won't have anything to laugh about.
but anyway, that's a classic example how you just get a gut feeling to reach out to someone and say hello you hadn't spoken to in a while, and how it's leading you in a much bigger, a much bigger journey down there. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. And I don't even know. I think it was I said something about, hey, we're going to do a show on Friday or something like that. I don't even
Yeah,
remember how
absolutely. Yeah,
we were.
absolutely.
We were live on TV, and I thought, since we got women in leadership on Friday, I don't look too well in a dress and a wig, especially at this nose. But it just came to me. And when something like that comes to you, don't hesitate. Just go ahead and pop that clutch and let it go,
That's a
And
very good lesson that, took me a little long to learn, but once you learn it,
Mhm.
it's a good one to have under your belt. And,
Oh yeah.
I've had it happen several times this week, not only with, you and I, but yesterday I got a phone call
Mhm.
from a woman that I had her, just like her initials in her phone. So I felt horrible because I thought, oh my gosh, I can't remember what that stands for. So there's
Mhm.
nothing worse than, being on the phone with somebody and you're like, in your mind, you're like, oh gosh, like, you would think the voice would like kind of, resonate, with who
Oh
it was.
yeah.
And it was not happening, which
Yeah.
was even more of an embarrassment. So she's telling me of this, particular crisis and stuff.
Mhm.
And she kind of gets to the end. And I said, like as tactfully as I could, for some reason, I just put your initials in the phone and I'm just like struggling a little bit, like with like what it stands for. And she's
Mm.
like, oh, she's like, there's nothing to be sorry for. She's like, you know what? A year and a half ago, I liked what you're doing. I texted you on LinkedIn and we talked back and forth and I kept your phone number and I knew that you could help me out in this particular situation. And I'm going to call you tomorrow then also. And, I want to make some connections with what we're blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Now here, a year and a half ago, somebody that I, had a good communication, the things that I said to her,
Mhm.
stuck with her, that she kept my phone number and then called me, when
Yeah.
she needed it the most.
Mm. That's amazing. And that comes from a higher source that Bill, a good friend of ours, Bill Heinrich, talks about. Follow the energy, because that's exactly where it comes from. And, I got to tell you something funny the other day. No, it's a couple of weeks ago, actually. One of my friends I hadn't talked to in a long, long, long time. And he says, hey, he called me up and he says, are you still alive? And I said, well, this morning I woke up. I didn't see any candles, didn't smell any flowers, so I got up.
It appears that I'm
Yeah,
still breathing. I'm talking to
yeah.
you.
Yeah, the undertaker wasn't here, so I figured I better get up, get my day going. But he called me because he had heard from someone that I'd had a heart attack. And I said, oh, that's old news. And I said, you hear about my brain transplant? And he says, no. I said, it was a failure too. But it was really good to hear his voice and to hear him laugh. And then he said something to me, kind of took me back a little bit. He says, Jim, I needed that good laugh. He says, it's been a long time since I've laughed. And he had lost his mom and he had been through a couple of things like that. And I said, brother, I'm so sorry to hear that, because, it's always tough, to lose anyone.
Right.
But, he has felt the need to call me. I guess the good Lord gave me like my mother told me, it's a good thing the good Lord gave you a sense of humor. Otherwise you wouldn't have any sense at all. But maybe sometimes we're given whatever gifts we're given, we're to use them like that and to be able to help someone. Because sometimes I remember, and I don't want to get too personal here in my stories, but I was traveling back from Phoenix to Texas, and I kept seeing this sign for this business, this roadside, little visit convenience store, gas and all of that. And they talked about great gas prices and clean restrooms and great place to get food. So I pulled in there. I could tell it was a small business, privately owned. And sure enough, I mean, the place had good prices on their gas, and their restrooms were very clean, and the food was real good. And I walked up there to the lady behind the counter, and I picked up a few things, paid for it. And she thanked me for stopping there. And I said, well, ma'am, I owe you an apology. She says, what's that? I says, I came here And I saw all those signs that you had coming up the road, clean restrooms. I says, I just don't have time to clean any restrooms while I'm here. I got to get back on the road. And she started cracking up laughing. And then she said something to me. She said, I want to thank you for that laugh. She says, I haven't had a good laugh in over a month. I just been working and just here and there. So for you folks that's got a warped sense of humor, or like me, a lack of sense, I mean, be sure and try to lighten someone's load. And also be very sure that you listen to people and go with your gut. Go with your gut feeling, because your gut will never mislead you. Right. It's like I tell people in a business deal, hey, trust your gut. A good deal today is a good deal tomorrow after you sleep on it.
Yep.
And if it ain't a good deal tomorrow, you dodged the bullet,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Everyone should follow that. I wish I would have realized that many years ago.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. I bought a few people for small amounts of money, so I figure, well, they'll never come back to me again. So since I already own it. But it's amazing how, they cheat themselves out of life doing things like that. And you can cheat yourself out of living the life that you're supposed to live just by not following your gut, just by not focusing on how and when you can be a blessing to someone else. Because that's your calling in life, believe it or not.
Yep.
And no matter what you're going through, you're at the perfect place for you right now, but that's not the place you're going to stay.
Right.
And because that's just part of the journey. And I put up there on that marquee there, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. I listen to that from time to time because I really like that message, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. I met Mr.
Yeah, I've
Nightingale.
not heard of him before. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I met him one time. I was about 17 or 18. And he pulled into this gas station. I was there. And I saw this big black, I think it was Buick. And of course, back in the 60s, cars were about 3 city blocks long in those days. And the radiator was just boiling. And so as soon as, I saw him and I knew who he was because I'd seen his picture. And as soon as he talked with that deep, gravelly voice, yeah, that's Earl Nightingale. And he was on every radio station, And he came in and the owner of the station said, well, we're going to pull your car over and just let it cool off. He said, okay. So then Earl went over to the phone and he simply just called whoever he was supposed to meet. And he says, I'm going to be late getting there. He says, my car overheated. And he says, I'm here at the service station. He says, as soon as I get ready to go, he says, I will call and let you know. And that I'm now on my way, so you'll know what time to expect me. And he just sat down. Just like he was at waiting his turn to see the doctor at the doctor's office. He wasn't upset, he didn't let that incident upset him or control him. Obviously, if you're traveling somewhere, the last thing you want to see is your front of your car smoking like a coal burner,
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it's going to be a good day.
No, but the way he handled it is what I observed, and that's what I really liked. And I admired him. But when you hear his message, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, I just like for you to just lie there sometimes like I do and close your eyes and just listen to the words, because it's an MP3 type of video. All it's got there is a stationary picture, no video. And just listen to the words. Because first time I listened to it, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you'll know it when you hear it. He made a certain statement in there, and I'm going like, that can't be true, but yes, it is. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Well, now you have my interest, just because I want to figure out what it is that word is.
Mm-hmm. It's really a precious thing. Preston Martelli. Preston also, him and I, we've talked about this. Preston's going to be 44 years old tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, he's another guy that I hadn't talked to, and I sent him a message there. Hey, bro, just thinking of you. Love you, like you, and I miss you, And he says, yeah. He said, let's talk next week. I've been thinking about you too. He said, I'm going to be 44 tomorrow. So Preston, I don't know if you're watching the show or going to catch it later, because I'm going to tell him we talked about you. But anyway, you can catch us video on demand. We're just like Netflix. We're live streaming and we're video on demand. But we're a lot more reasonable than Netflix. If you'd like to advertise with us, we accept cash with no IDs, so. But sincerely,
That's an old joke, Jim.
I
You've been
know it.
telling
I
that
know
one
it.
for years.
I know it. I know it. I'm an old boy. But sincerely, I just want to say to everyone out there, if tomorrow's your birthday, today's your birthday, if you just had a birthday, we hope you had a wonderful birthday, really.
Happy birthday.
And be thankful. Goodness, I'm going to be 75 in August, and heck, I didn't think I'd be around that long. So, but anyway, I'm not complaining. I'm not going to, or anything like that. I mean,
You're not going anywhere anytime soon, Jim.
I know it. I know it. I mean, like I say, the candles are not on and the flowers are not in the room. So I got to get up and go. But, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing next Friday. We're going to be talking about this series here of women and men too, for that matter, people that live in abusive situations, because that is a horrible place to live, because it's not a home. It's because a home is a place where you go and you're safe, you're secure, and you feel loved. At least it should be that way.
Absolutely. And, here's another thing, Jim, that's so wonderful about what it is that we're doing is that there are so many different parts that actually touch a domestic violence victim, that when you hear a big news story of something that's happened, you only hear what it is they choose to tell you. There's so many bits and pieces that go with it that nobody hears about. And, it's a whole process, like I was mentioning earlier, the journey really begins after they leave, because there's so many different aspects that they wind up, especially if they have children involved.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole nother, process. So we're going to be touching on all those different areas, and then what they can do to help themselves too, to start, rebuilding and finding their strength and their own voice again of what their own opinion is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because that's very critical for a person to know their self-worth and to realize that you're very, very valuable. You really, truly are. And if anyone is telling you that you're not valuable, just love them enough to forgive them of their ignorance and let them go.
Yeah.
Let them go, because all they're going to do is just, drain your energy. And the only reason why they want to say bad things about you is to make themselves feel better about themselves. And that's a true snapshot there of how bankrupt they are on the inside in their morals, their values, and their self-worth. I mean, it's pitiful. It really is to be that bankrupt, but that's exactly what's going on. Well, our time's about gone here.
I don't know how that happens. I don't know what it is when the two of us get together, but time just flies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of fun together. We laugh together. We talk together. But most importantly, we're so glad and we're so very, very thankful, ladies and gentlemen, that you tuned in today. And please be sure and share our show with others. And, we're going to be back next Friday covering more information on this topic here, because the women in leadership, I mean, we normally think of, business people and things like that, but it really takes a lot of leadership for someone like Kim to stand up and just dust themselves off and just say, hey, I'm going to be the guide on here. I'm going to carry the torch. I'm going to lead the way, because I know how I felt. And that was one thing that I learned, or what I was told, I should say, when I first became a senior NCO in the military. This master sergeant took me aside and he says, remember one thing. He says, don't ever forget how you felt when you were a private. And I've always remembered that, because he was talking about the relationship we should have. There's a barrier there. There's a difference because of the level of in the military ranks there, but still, I never forgot that great advice, because that's so important. And that's what Kimberly has done. She remembers how she felt, and that was her inspiration, the catalyst to rise up and not just say, well, I'm out of the situation. Finally, I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to go on my life. I'm going to do a mental dump. But her calling led her in a greater direction. Would you agree with that?
I would never have imagined to be in the spot that I am now. And I'm so honored and privileged to have the opportunity to, just when I think that I feel like I'm going to do something for them, I wind up realizing the gift is always on me. So what a blessing.
Oh, yeah. And next week, I was going to do it during this show, but I forgot. But next week, I'd like for you to share a couple of experiences that you've had helping clients, maybe a false first name or something to protect protect them. But, just share with us, a couple of things a couple of people you've seen that you've helped in your counseling and how that made you feel on the inside. That I'd be interested in that story. And I know some folks out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We can touch on that. And, I think that also too is that I don't know if it'll be next week, but I know that maybe the week after or something that it's all about, the steps to making effective decision making, which is so important that when you start out, and you're away from it, of being able to figure out where your voice is again, of where you stand on things.
Absolutely. And I've already told Kim, she's a subject matter expert on that. So be sure and I'll just let her, take the information she wants to share at the proper time and the sequence she wants to, because she's been there, she's done it, she's got the experience, she's got the education, she knows what she's doing. The only thing I know how to do is complain about AT&T and my internet.
Well, let's just put that out there too, is that it will continuously be up there on the website. I actually have a download button where people can, grab free resources and information all on domestic violence. So it's there for free for everybody to take for themselves.
Okay. That sounds good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone. We've ran over a little bit, about a minute and a half. But anyway, this information is very, very important. Thank you again for tuning in. And on behalf of Kim and myself, we sincerely hope that you and your loved ones are healthy, happy, and blessed in all areas of your life. We'll be back on Monday with Expanding Your Business. We hope to see you then. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.